Hey there, and welcome to the People Who Help People podcast. This is the spot for HR and people ops pros who are all about building better businesses by putting people first. We chat with founders and experts who've been there, done that, and are generous enough to share what actually works. Thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoyed today's episode. Hello again. Today I'm happy to be speaking with Keli Propp, co-founder and CEO of Fillarole, about standing out in a tech-saturated market, taking far fewer steps to deliver far better results. Keli, an immigration and employment expert, works with Canadian businesses to solve one of the hardest and most avoided problems, finding the right people. Welcome, Keli.
Craig, thanks for having me today.
It's a pleasure having you on this podcast. So, tell me a little bit more about Fillarole and your role there.
So, my role is CEO and co-founder. Fillarole is an online web app that helps employers across Canada find local talent and streamlines talent acquisition for international or temporary foreign workers through one seamless workflow. So we make sure that all your advertising is done locally and internationally at the same time. So if you don't find the right workers in Canada, you can find the right workers internationally and hire them through an easy, simple process.
And I believe that Fillarole is the evolution of a prior company?
Correct. So our company's been around since 2017. And initially, we started automating the Canadian immigration industry. It's a complicated industry. It's confusing for most businesses. And in Canada, many businesses have significant short staffing, labor inconsistencies, and not the right skilled talent for the roles they have. So we started automating a really hard, slow process. And we have just rebranded from Immigrate to Fillarole this year.
What drove the rebranding?
So one of the things that my co-founder and I are passionate about is helping small businesses, medium-sized businesses, and even large businesses find the right talent, find the right people. And not all of those people are always in Canada. We wanted to really make sure that while you may be exploring workers internationally, we also want to make sure that these employers are exploring talent locally. So, what we always did as a part of Immigrate was help companies do really good advertising campaigns locally on a variety of niche job boards across Canada. Because you're not going to find newcomer talent or minority talent necessarily on Indeed or on Monster or Career Builder or any of those big platforms. So we were working hard to do a lot of, let's call it ad aggregation for our clients. And they were finding a lot of value out of this. And if we helped them find local workers, it was a big win because you can connect somebody locally with a local employer. It's always win. Immigration in Canada is very expensive. And despite a lot of the myths that foreign workers get paid less or it's cheap and easy, it's not. So it's always better for the employer if they can hire someone local. And a big part of our pivot was to really push that part of our business to the forefront, to help companies know that we're here for you and to help you connect with these local talent, to engage with them in a very different way than the very cold, dry engagement that you see perhaps on LinkedIn or other sites where it's just a bunch of messages back and forth, but not real. Or you find out the job seeker already has other jobs they're looking at, and now you're too late. So we're trying to help them engage very quickly.
Got it. So you mentioned local talent. How local is local? Is it local to your area? Is it all the way across Canada? Where are your customers typically from?
So our employer customers are within Canada. So we help companies all across Canada help find local workers, and our local workers can mean a variety of things. So right now, we help them find workers who are in Canada ready to work. We're launching a province city search quite soon. So if somebody applies to your job, you'll be able to go, okay, I'm in Vancouver. My job posting's in Vancouver. And now look, there's somebody local who is in Burnaby. okay, that's close, or they're in Alberta. So now you can start prioritizing people geographically, because as the labor market changes, we want to really help people in Vancouver connect with Vancouver jobs rather than a company in, say, Mississauga connecting with somebody in Calgary. That's not always going to be a good fit. So we want to help them get right down to that city and geographical locations. Say, I'm looking for people within 500 kilometers or 1,000 kilometers, whatever it may be. So we can help them engage with those people very quickly, because we know that if you have a job opening, especially a skilled one, you need to jump on those skilled people right away before they find something else.
And you mentioned the growth from the previous business into this and this newer focus, but it sounds like you still also assist with immigration.
Yeah, so we built our product really to help with simple talent acquisition. So I'm a company, I need workers. A lot of times companies would rather make sure the worker has the right skill set, the right education, the right qualifications, rather than who you are necessarily. What can you bring to the company to help provide more skills to my current staff are really important things that a lot of employers are focusing on a lot more. And that's what we're trying to help focus on, is really make sure that employers can get what they need now rather than way down the line. But sometimes, no matter how you advertise, how you engage with local workers, there just isn't the right fit, especially in healthcare organizations. It's really hard to find a great nurse or a nurse practitioner or a doctor, even support workers and home care workers across Canada, the US, the UK, Europe. They're really hard to find. If you find, you know, and job applications are open to anyone, right? So we can't control who's applying to a job. They're just out there, people apply. And so if you find someone that you like, maybe they're from the Philippines or they're from Ghana or from France, you can hire them and you go, okay, now what do I do? So that's when our product says, all right, you've hired this international worker, now what? And so instead of contacting a lawyer or trying to figure out what to do now, our system already streamlined all the advertising requirements. You can go, okay, now I'm ready to get government approval in Canada. And an employer can choose from a list of vetted, registered Canadian immigration consultants to do the immigration requirements. So Fillarole doesn't do the immigration work. We just connect these employers with a third party company that can help them. But we know this third party company is fully licensed. They're not going to charge extraneous fees. They're going to treat the foreign workers fair. So that way we know that this worker, wherever they may be, isn't getting charged, way too much money.
Understood. Okay, so to the topic of today's conversation. How do you stand out in a tech saturated market? It sounds like, one, you have an app, so you're already fairly tech savvy. And two, from our previous discussions, you're no stranger to AI enabled tools. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let's start with your perspective on the rising popularity and use of AI.
I like to compare AI to the Industrial Revolution.
Okay.
So if you think about 200 years ago, started to rise. People started leaving rural areas, and cities became very popular, urbanization. But the cottage industry was, for lack of a better term, panicking, which is how a lot of companies who are not using AI, don't understand AI, or afraid of AI, they're panicking right now. They're wondering, what does it do? So I think this is a really good comparison, because AI and industrialization or factories have similar, in my mind, trajectories. They are a tool. They're not necessarily a replacement. At first, for sure, we are seeing replacements in jobs. There's going to be job losses every time there's a new change in industry. But ultimately, we see job creation as well. AI is a tool, but we all know that if you ask or prompt AI to do a question, to do something for you, so ask it a question, if you give it a poor input, it's going to give you a poor output. We also know that if you want to use AI in your workforce, you have to train it like you would train any staff member, essentially. So now, instead of a person doing hours and hours of heavy input to screen resumes, we can train the AI to screen resumes for us. So now we have an employee training AI, teaching it how to be equitable, teaching it how to be fair, rather than doing that screening in perhaps an incongruent way. Because you tell AI, follow step A to Z every single time, it will do that. But if you tell an employee, follow A to Z every single time, maybe some days they're going to have fatigue or they're stressed. They'll miss some steps. So this gives us more consistency in process. But now there'll be different jobs for different people to do different things. As our technology evolves, our job force will evolve. And in Canada, we have labor shortages, productivity shortages, which is common in many first world countries. And I think this will help smaller businesses have a little bit more of a competitive edge where they don't have the manpower to do a lot of these things. Now they can use a technological power to be a little bit more competitive in market. Rather than having a team of 40, you could do the same with potentially a team of 5.
That brings several questions in mind, but one is, are there ways that you're utilizing AI enabled tools to be more productive in your firm?
So our firm, we use tools in-house that are just for our employees. And then, of course, we develop proprietary AI tools that we sell to our clients. I'm a big fan of a wide variety of AI models because when we read books, we're not going to read one business book and go, yes, that's the solution. We're going to read many business books. And so I like to think about AI models the same way. So we'll use ChatGPT, I'll use Gemini. I'm not a big fan of Copilot, but I've certainly tried Copilot. So I've used different models, and each model has a different output. And so the diversity is just there. I can do a lot more. I can iterate a lot more. We use a wide variety of ChatGPT and Gemini mostly, and it helps with a lot of our email writing. If you know what you want to say, you do a rough draft, you can say, help me refine this. And now you have a more perhaps succinct email. So we use tools like that in house. We have also trained our AI to help us with our knowledge center. So we're training it so it can help our clients with very specific things within our company. You want to know how to do this? You interact with our chatbot. It's like, great, I can help you with this. And it's our internal processes that are offering our client better customer service, because in a world of 24/7, our customers aren't going to call us between 8:30 and 4:30. They're going to call us when it's convenient, especially if they're an entrepreneur. Sometimes entrepreneurs are up at 11 p.m., siphoning through emails, cracking out other documents. Maybe they're doing the job post late at night. And so if they need help, our chatbots are there and ready to help them make the process easy.
So tell me more about this chatbot. One, how do your clients access it? Two, do you monitor the answers it's giving? Three, did you build it yourself or use a tool and modify it?
So our chatbot is accessible within our platform. So we have a web app. It's at app.fillarole.ca. So you can log in, create an account, and that's where our chatbot is accessible. So right now it's specifically trained with a GPT model, and we taught it certain things. So we designed it really specifically to answer Canadian immigration questions. So you could say, how does the temporary foreign worker program work in Canada? And it'll tell you that. And it will go through the steps. And this is all legitimate, vetted information. So we've trained it on Government of Canada programs, provincial programs, and knowledge from a variety of immigration experts. But if you ask it, how do I bake a cake? It'll say, I'm sorry, I can't answer that. So we've reduced the creativity significantly. So it's not a creative model. If it doesn't have that information, it'll say, would you like to speak to somebody who can help you out with that? So it pushes our users, if it doesn't have the right information, to contact one of our support team. It is set up right through our CRM. So we built it into conjunction with our CRM so that we can monitor all the answers. We can monitor all the chats. We can see how the chatbot's interacting with our users. And then we can also take that information and see how accurate is the information. Are there biases? Is it interacting with clients in a way that's, I don't know, insensitive somehow, so we can make improvements?
If somebody gets so far with the chatbot, but then realizes, I think I really want to speak with somebody, how do they do that? It sounds like you have a mechanism for them to engage with somebody else. I'd like to follow up on something else. You mentioned biases, and that brings to mind fairness and frankly ethical considerations. Can you speak to that a little bit?
So a lot of what people may not understand is, how do AI systems gather knowledge? Where does this information come from? And it's all historical data. So if the data you're feeding an AI model is bias, well, then it's going to perpetuate biases. So one thing we know in workforce data is that the majority of people who get hired are typically not minority groups. They don't have the diversity or the equity. They are more often than not male, and they are more often not identify as Caucasian. So if we know this is historical information that's released publicly, how do we change an AI model not to reiterate those same biases? And it can be really tricky, but you can also train a model to pick up on certain things. So you can decide, what are my qualifying factors going to be when assessing talent or when assessing, a system? How are we going to do it? In our case, it is screening of applicants. How do we determine? And so what we have done in training our AI to do screening and basic qualifications is we make sure it doesn't take into consideration the type of name a person has. So we remove the reference and we put think about it as sliders. Sometimes there's different technology has slide this up is important, slide this down is important. So we put the slider for country of residence down. So AI is not going to go, okay, this person is from Canada, I'm going to mark them higher because I'm going to understand and reference that their name is this, which is typically of this type of culture, which is typically people who have been hired. So we get our AI to ignore foreign names, ignore gender, ignore age, ignore weight. So we say, ignore these certain factors, and we are going to do our qualifications solely on education. Do you have the type of education that is posted? Do you have the experience? And we can rank these as an importance. Things like ethnicity is not important. We'll put it at negative 100. But things like education, we can crank that up as extremely important because, if you need somebody with a doctorate to do something, you need somebody with a doctorate. You can't accept no education, right? If you're a structural engineer, somebody who only has experience in architectural drawings is not going to cut it, right? So we make those certain aspects much more important so that we can try and reduce as much bias as possible. Also, we have the opportunity to work with a group called AMI. It's the Alberta Machine Intelligence Institute out of Alberta, and we're doing a course in ethical AI. And so I have my team and myself, we're going through these courses to make sure we are understanding what are the big ethical concerns with AI right now, and how can we mitigate them, and how can we do our best to remove some of that bias and unethical practices right from day one, because we all know that we have a bias. We're just not aware of our bias, and we want to use AI to try and do our best to remove that. But we also want to make sure that in anywhere where we're working with humans to determine are they qualified for positions, especially, that we are stamping that out as early as we can. Because I don't want I'm very thankful to have the position I do, and I know that there's not a lot of other women CEOs. And if I'm looking for an executive, I definitely don't want the tool I'm using to stamp out other people who may identify as I do, or stamp out somebody who may not look anything like me and not give them the chance because they just happen to be different.
Got it. I like what you said earlier about not only, well, combining the two answers, I should say. One, you're educating your team and making sure that you're studying the very latest thinking and strategies for minimizing bias and increasing fairness. Two, you're using your programming or your training to emphasize those things that truly matter, de-emphasize those things that don't matter or could lead to bias. And three, because of steps one and two, it's naturally going to be more reliable than a human doing the same job who might not be as cognizant, might have unconscious bias, etc. So I like the combination of those three factors gives me confidence that you're being a very thoughtful and proactive leader in this regard. Okay, so you're talking to your clients. They're not sure how they feel about AI. Talk to me about how you stand out in a tech-saturated market, but also avoid those buzzwords that we're all hearing floating around. How are you talking to your clients about these things?
To be honest, the average business owner in Canada, like, yay, AI, like, woohoo, you have this fancy filter, you have an algorithm. To be perfectly honest, if it doesn't solve their problem, they don't care. And I think the best way to stand out in any saturated market is to put your customers first. Show them that you have a tool to solve a problem they have. Show them how you're going to impact them and how you're going to benefit them. Especially in Canada, our general economy has decreased. Employment rates are going up. So a lot of companies are in a tricky financial situation. A lot of companies, they want to know, is this going to save me time? Is this going to save me money? Is it going to get me the results I need? We can throw away, we have data lakes of all this information and we're scraping and we're training and we're, like they want to know, how many applicants am I going to get? How quickly can I find people? How is my engagement? What is it going to be different? So what we do is what any good company does is we make sure our customers understand that this is a tool that's going to help screen candidates. It won't eliminate candidates. So any step of the way they want to get involved in the process, they can get involved in the process. This is just here to make their lives simpler and easier. Just like any tool that you would have in a factory. If you're bottling, beer in local industry, you want a tool that's going to put the lids on your bottles faster and better, right? And that's how I like to describe this to our employees, because a lot of our clients, they're not 25, they're not 30, they're not jumping on new technology, they're not willing to try everything and give it a go. They are usually 55 plus. They are business owners. They have been around the block, so to speak. They have a lot of experience, they have a lot of understanding, and they tend to be skeptical of new fads and new trends. And using a lot of technology buzzwords, that's going to make you look trendy when in fact, all I want to do is make sure I solve their problem. And so I will tell people, all right, our tool is going to help you advertise your position to a wide variety of places without you having to post 30 new ads on your own. We will help you sort through international and local candidates quickly so you can understand who is ready to work and who is not, and who may be ready to work later. We help you and your team do this quickly while taking into consideration corporate structure, because not all companies are just one user, one login. They have multiple locations and they have different staff taking care of recruitment in different areas. So we allow their team to work together in our platform and be productive and really take full control of the process. Is it great that we have automation workflow? It is great. They don't want to hear they have automation workflow. Like, that doesn't matter. If it doesn't matter, if it doesn't solve their problem. And so that's what we like to do, is really focus on, this is what we do, this is what you get. And keep it really simple, like communication. If you're not direct and you're not impactful, people are out.
You're talking about making other teams effective. You just had a couple days where your team was focused on your effectiveness. Can you speak to that?
So, we are a small, agile Canadian company, and one thing we really like to do is focus on how to be more productive individually and how to be more productive as a team. So, one of the things we just finished doing is our corporate planning. So, we do planning weekly, quarterly, and annually. And I think this helps us really stay focused on the most important tasks, the most important goals, keep our team aligned. We share this with the team, so we're all in the same boat because we're all in the same company, but now we're all paddling in the same direction at the same time. And once you have that going, because I'm sure we've all seen the boat analogy where one person paddles and then the other person, and now you're going in a circle. And I find our corporate planning helps us do that. But I definitely use AI tools to be my note taker, because even if I have one of my team members taking notes, the AI tool, it'll transcribe everything everybody says, and it'll give us highlight, these are the action items, and go, oh, we missed that one. Great catch. So I use a tool called Fixer AI. It helps me with emails, but it also is a meeting note taker and a scheduling assistant. And so anytime I join a virtual meeting, Fixer joins as my note taker, does a highlight rundown for me, and then I can share that within minutes with my team if I want, or I can take the notes and just remember what I missed. And it's really, really helpful. It saves me probably on average 5 hours a week just in email time, probably more writing recaps of meetings.
So Fixer, is that spelled? How is that spelled?
FYXER.com.
.com, and Fixer you use for email, meeting scheduling, and meeting transcription. What happens if you've got a meeting in person? 3 people sitting around a table. Can you use Fixer then?
Yeah, so sometimes what I do is I just open up a Google Meet on my phone. I invite Fixer to join, and I just have it there. No camera, just audio, and it'll still take notes for me.
Got it. And you do that on your phone.
Yeah, I can. There's I think it's called Plaud, Plaud, and it's an audio meeting note taker. So I've known a few people who have this, and it just sits on your phone, and everywhere you take it, it can interact with you, and it can be like your virtual assistant. So if you need an EA, but you're not sure if you're ready to hire an EA, Plaud is another option of a virtual AI assistant that can help you out as well.
That's Plaud, Plaud.
Yes.
I need both Plaud and Fixer. So thank you. Thank you for sharing those tools. I know when I hear about other people using tools that have delivered them success, I love to hear about what's that tool again? So I can go check it out myself. Keli, is there anything I missed from today's conversation that's close to your heart, or things that you wanted to add as we think about standing out in a tech-saturated market and taking far fewer steps to deliver far better results? Oh, I know one. Go ahead.
Yeah, go for it.
No, I was going to ask, before we jumped on this call, you talked about the specific framework that you follow for your quarterly planning process. Can you speak about that briefly?
So my co-founder is a member of EO, which is the entrepreneurial organization, and they have an operating model called EOS. And this is just a way to help you get out of the everyday weeds of your business. You're trapped in your business. This helps you take a much higher look at your business. It helps you set up your weekly meetings with your team. It helps you learn how to track your tasks better, how to prioritize. It teaches you how to set up quarterly planning and even annual planning. It's a really great model to use. I really enjoy it, but it also has a bunch of other tools. So one of the tools I really like is the People Analyzer. And I think it's very important. Any successful company starts with a successful team. And a successful team are people who trust each other. Everybody knows what their role is. They want their role. They have the capacity to do their role. And this tool really helps me evaluate myself and my team to make sure we're all on the same page. Because sometimes you have the right people, but they're not in the right seats. And so this helps me make sure that my team is aware. Are they the right person in the right seat? Am I the right person in the right seat? And we can work together, because I really strongly believe that you take care of your employees will take care of your clients, and your clients will take care of your revenue. So if you start with your team, and that's what EOS does, it helps us start with our team and helps us grow there. And it helps you, if you don't measure and you don't know, you can't grow and change. And that's what this really does. It helps us understand what we're doing well, what we're not doing well, and how to successfully communicate that amongst each other in an honest and fair way.
I like that it starts with the people on the team and individualized feedback for them and for you. But then it also is a framework for, okay, once we know we're all in the right seats, keeping us all rowing together, as you said earlier, in the right direction. Okay, I cut you off earlier. Were you going to add one more thing?
I think I was just going to say, like, no matter what tool you use, there's always going to be people involved. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people get tech fatigue when there is no one to help them, when they get lost. And I think the most valuable thing going forward for any company considering adopting AI is to make sure you really balance that well with staff. So if you're building a really great product, if your clients have no way to access somebody for help or support, your product will fail no matter how awesome it is. Because at some point or another, somebody's like, oh, I just wish I have some help. And if there's no good mechanism for help, no matter how great your tool is, I don't think it's going to succeed unless you have a good balance of human and technology to spur people forward. You don't need to have, 500 people in the background. You might have 2 people to service 200 clients. But as long as there's always somebody there to hold somebody's hand when they need it or help them out, because sometimes clients just need to vent. And that's sometimes when you get the best feedback, so you can change your product and move forward even better. So it's a win-win for everybody. Client satisfaction, like that gem of feedback you get from clients, you never get the best improvements from good feedback. You always get the best improvements from the hard stuff. So got to have somebody there to take it.
Very true. So 2 people that know how to listen and a note taker who knows how to capture it with the follow-up actions. Okay. Keli, I've really enjoyed our conversation today. If something resonated with somebody and they'd like to reach out to you or get in touch, how's the best way to get in touch with you?
Email. I'm not as active on LinkedIn, but hit me up on LinkedIn. I'm always willing to chat people there. Or you can hit up our website. We do have support inquiries if you want to check us out there as well.
Very good. I'll make sure that all of those are listed when we post this episode. I'll list them right below the episode. Keli, thank you again for sharing your thoughts today on the analogies between what we're going through in this AI saturated market, the value of making sure that we keep the human involved throughout, how to achieve the right balance and how to stay focused on your client's needs and your team's needs. So I really appreciated your comments today. Thank you so much for being our guest.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. It was lovely.
Okay, for me as well. Thank you.